those. So what's been happening the last week?
You know, they've been mentioning how it had been flattening out and dipping, but now on the weekend they're saying it's started to get hot again in the auction arena. So we had a 70-cent clearance rate nationally. Now, this time last year, because we always like to use those stats and compare, it was 69.3%. So it's still well above what it was this time last year, and has been like that for quite some time. Sydney experienced 82.6% clearance rate. So tell me where the slowdown is in Sydney. It's been above 80% for quite a considerable amount of time. Melbourne is 74.9%. So last week Melbourne was 77 on its own. So it's done very well. But here's the big ones. Here's really an important feature. We said we're going to talk about Brisbane a bit more. 65.4% clearance rate for Brisbane, 69.4% for Adelaide, but wait for it, 86.4% clearance in Canberra in this last weekend. So the auction clearance rates are not indicating that the market is slowing down. In fact, some of the other cities that we don't hear about have increased and improved dramatically. So
86% for Canberra is absolutely massive, isn't it?
It's crazy.
But is there much of a volume down there at all?
Well, you know, people say that, oh, maybe only 2 homes went to auction. The reality is it's a percentage, and it's a percentage we follow every week. And that, whether it's 10 homes or 100 homes, it's that conversion ratio that's always a critical number we use.
Now, there's a lot of people hoping there's more properties being advertised for sale.
Yes.
It's the coldest part of the year. It can only get better.
I know, and I'm supposed to look in a crystal ball and watch them all come rising. Well, they're not going to happen again. We've gone backwards. We've had literally a roller coaster ride weeks after week after week. It's a negative 0.95% in stock on the market over this time last week, and it's dipped to a negative 2.5% over this time last year. New Zealand had a negative dip as well. They are 1.2% lower than this time last year, but they had a dip of 4% over this time last week. The only region that did any good there was the Taranaki region, which you know where that is, don't you? The Taranaki's beautiful, where the hedges grow, and it's just don't worry about it. It's a great place, great place, and that region there has improved in listing numbers.
And what about the rents? We mentioned already that we think they're reasonably low.
They are low. Sydney had a good climb. Sydney had a 0.87% increase over this time last week. And yet Melbourne had a negative 4% increase, whereas Perth had a negative 8%. But here's the one that got slammed 2 weeks in a row, and that's the Northern Territory area. That's a negative 2.81%. Over this time last week, and the week before it was a negative 2.15%. But if you take all of the capital cities, all of the regional areas, and bring it into one, we had growth of 0.98%. Not a lot, but still something. And we're only sitting at negative 1.2% for the year to date from the very start of the year on that rent figure we picked. So you look at the chart, it's levelling out there still.
And finally, the vacancy rates as well.
Yeah, some areas to worry about there. Sydney jumped to 2.82, which is not high, but it jumped from where it has been in the ones. The one that concerns me the most still is Perth, but even Victoria, that's jumped to 4.66%. So it's been sitting in the fours for a little while, and some of those locations are experiencing high vacancy rate. Perth is the one that's still up there, 6.45%. So we've got a total of those three capital cities of 4.64%. I keep saying clearance rate, but I mean vacancy rate, 4.64% vacancy rate over those three capital cities.
Sounds good. Very quickly, a one-line answer from both of you. Do you think negative gearing will be taken away, and should people worry about it anyway?
It's not one line, one word, no.
No.
Wonderful. Well, good to see you guys. Charles Tarbey from Century 21. Samir Kassam, thanks for joining us as well from CharterNet as well.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us at home. As we say, we're not too worried about it, but look, something may happen in the future, but who knows. Until next week, I'm Chris Gray. Good night.
The information featured in this program is general in nature and therefore should not be relied upon. Guests appearing on the program may have commercial arrangements with some of the companies mentioned. Before making any investment, insurance or financial planning decisions, you should consult a licensed professional who can advise whether your decision is appropriate for you.